Hi there, everyone. This is Kendall from Sager Family Farm, and today we are giving an update on our little baby chickies. So the chicks right now are 1 week old, and there are definitely a lot of differences between last week when they first hatched and today. They're definitely awake and running around a lot more. You can see some of them back here and this little one here. The differences in how we take care of them, I'm going to go over that, as well as the differences in the chicks' bodies. So we're going to take a look at some pictures from last week compared to how the chicks look this week, and I'll go through all of the stuff in here that is a little bit different. So we'll start with the cage. The cage is mostly the same, so we call this the brooder, and we still have the heat lamp up here, and we're going to need this for at least 5 more weeks. So right now, the chicks can tolerate being about 90 or so degrees, so about 5 degrees less than last week. So they can be a little bit closer to room temperature. Each week, we'll drop down the temperature about 5 degrees until it reaches room temperature or around the 70-degree mark, and then they can start being outside because it'll be about that temperature outside as well. If you guys have any questions about these little chickies at any point, there is a question box over here, so you can type in your questions for me. I'll get to them probably at the end, but if you think of anything as I'm talking, go ahead and type it in that box, and I will get to it at the very end. So this little chickie over here, we've got the heat lamp for them. We also still have the food and water for them, but you might notice they're on these kind of chains here and they're hanging a little bit. I keep raising them just a little bit to keep them off the floor, and that keeps the chicks from kicking all of the wood shavings into the water and clogging it up. So that way they always have access to fresh water. For the food, it keeps them from digging in it and wasting all of the food and mixing it in with the bedding so that we have to throw away a lot of chick food. So I keep raising it a little bit to keep it right at about this height for the chicks so they can just peck and drink and eat without spilling everything everywhere and making a huge mess. I'm also starting to train them on this waterer right here. So this one has a little spout right here where they can peck at the bottom, and when they peck it, water will drip out. You might notice it's got this like neon yellow color, and that's because there's actually a mixture of electrolytes and vitamins in it. So it's really healthy for the chicks and helps them stay really healthy in their first few weeks of life. So I'm gonna put this little one back and we'll take a look at some pictures from the chicks from last week compared to this week. So over here, we've got a picture of that little chick that I was holding from hatch day and week 1. So we can see on hatch day, she is definitely very fuzzy. Her coloring is looking about the same, but we can definitely notice on her wings for the first week, she is growing a lot of feathers on her wings. She's just barely starting to grow some tail feathers, but the wings are the most noticeable part. Additionally, she is bigger now. So I'll show you some comparison photos for what they look like when they are bigger. But let's take a look at the next little chickie in here. So there are 5 chicks total. So this was the second chick we were looking at, and she is the smallest chick. She hatched out of a very small egg, so she's probably going to be a smaller chicken. Smaller breeds of chickens are usually referred to as bantams. So she probably has some of that bantam breed in her. We can also see that on her wing feathers, she's not staying completely black. Her feathers are actually a little bit brown in the middle. So she's starting to look a little bit different than all of the other black chicks. The difference between her and the other black chicks is also, if we take a look at her feet are nice and scaly and clean. Whereas if we look at the ones that I am calling the triplets over here, because these ones all look pretty similar, if we take a look at their legs, and let me move where I am over here, especially the leg on the week 1 chick, you can see there's kind of like these little spikes coming out of the legs, and those are actually the start of feathers. So these 3 little chicks are going to have feathers on their legs. So this is something that some chicken breeds just naturally have. So all 3 of these little ones have that feathers on their legs. So now let's take a look at maybe a close-up of some of the differences. So this is actually, I believe, the same chick. So there are some differences in the triplets based on their eye coloring. So this one has some yellow just underneath its eye and then a little tiny fleck right at the back of its eye. So all 3 of the chicks that look nearly identical actually have different coloring around their eyes. So it is possible to tell them apart. But there's one thing in particular, which let's see if I can point it out right about here. So I'm looking at the tip of this chick's beak right there. So this chick has this little white fleck on the front of its beak. And after week 1, it doesn't have it anymore. And I was wondering if you guys remember, so I have a question for you now down over here, is what is that white thing on the tip of the chick's beak? Why doesn't it have it anymore? So is it food that just got stuck on the chick's beak? Is it a part of the eggshell? Or is it the egg tooth? So it's definitely something that the chicks only have for the first 3 or so days of their life, and then they don't have it ever again. So that's why the chick from the week 1 photo doesn't have that little white fleck anymore. The tip of her beak is a little tiny bit white, but there's certainly something on top of the beak. And it looks like most of us are answering it correctly. Is what is the thing on the tip of the chick's beak? Is it food? No one's answering that. Is it the eggshell? No one answered eggshell. And it looks like everybody is answering egg tooth. So it is the egg tooth on the tip of her beak. So the egg tooth is the special little part of the chick. It's a tooth that she only has for the first 3 days of her life, and it helps her break out of the eggshell. So that's what the egg tooth is, and she loses it. So this little part falls off. So by now, all of the chicks are 1 week old, and they no longer have their egg teeth. If we take a look at just the downy feathers of the chick as well, the chick from week 1 looks a whole lot cleaner than the chick from day 1, so on hatch day. And that's because there's a lot of moisture inside of the eggshell. So there's still a little bit of the egg yolk, and there's a little bit of stuff on the inside of the egg, and it kind of makes the chicks a little bit sticky. So sometimes it sticks to their down, but they're actually constantly shedding these little downy feathers. So there's kind of like some chick dust all around. So a lot of the ones that were kind of messy have probably fallen out and grown back. So now the chicks are looking nice and smooth. So some of the other things that I'm noticing is just the size of the chicks. So this is our little silver chick next to an egg. So an egg about the size that the one she came out of. And right now, when she's sitting right next to it, it's hard to tell. She definitely looks bigger, but it's hard to see how much bigger. So one of the ways that I like to measure is by drawing an oval the size of the egg and then placing it over the chick's body. So let's just move that oval over the chick. And now it's really a lot easier to see how much bigger that chick is. There's no way this week-old chick could have stuffed itself into that egg. So these chicks are growing really fast. So they're eating a lot more now. The first few days of their life, they're actually still eating the yolk. So it's absorbed into their belly and they're still using those nutrients, but now they are definitely eating a lot of food. That's actually, some of them are kind of pecking at it right now. So they're constantly eating, napping, and drinking, and also jumping around. And then a lot of people have submitted some names for these little chicks. So we've also named these chicks. So our little silver chick, her name is going to be Delilah. We've got the little black chick that's a little smaller than all of the others. It has kind of a tan feathers. Her name is going to be Cookie. And to tell apart the triplets, I've put some bands on their legs. So the chick with the green band on its little leg, and basically no yellow coloring around its eyes. So you can tell from its face, this is the darkest chick. This is Captain Chicken Pants. And then we have the chick with the orangey red band on her leg. She has the most yellow near her beak. So she's got a lot of yellow on her face. This will be Rosie. And then we've got our last little baby chick. This one has kind of the medium level of yellow around its eyes. So this is the one with the yellow at the bottom and some little spots at the back. So all three of their colorings looks a little bit different. And this one has a purple band, and we will call her Pip. So thank you guys for submitting some of your names. So if you have any questions about the chicks, you can type them in over here now. Let me see what we've got over here. Let's see. So it looks like, why do some of the chicks look the same and some look different? So some of the chicks look a little bit different, and it looks like everybody can see everybody's questions today, and I think I just changed that. So why do some of the chicks look different than the others? So all of these chickens are actually different breeds. So the chickens, the three chickens that look the most similar, they hatched out of very similar colored eggs, and they're exhibiting a lot of traits of the same breed. So our three triplets are looking like they have a lot of Moran in them. So that is a breed of chicken. So there's actually a lot of different types of Morans. But these ones are exhibiting more qualities of black copper Moran. So they probably have a lot of Moran in them. The one over here, I think is this one based on the egg color. This one came out of a very tiny tannish egg. And based on where I got the chickens from and what breeds of chickens they have and the coloring that she's looking like, I'm guessing that she's a double silver-laced, I think it's a Barnvelder. So it's a type of chicken that has beautiful feathers that have this kind of double white V on them, and it makes her feathers look like lace. So as more of her feathers grow in, I'm expecting her to have this more lacy pattern, and that will also confirm whether it's that breed of chicken. This last chicken, I actually have no clue what this one is. So I don't know which one has the silver coloring from the chickens that I got. So I'm not sure what breed this is, but it's definitely different than the others based on its coloring. So that's why all the chicks look different, is because they're different breeds. Just like we have different breeds of dogs and cats that look a little bit different. So a calico cat with orange and black and white spots looks a little bit different than a tortoiseshell that has like the brown, black swirls all over it. So the different breeds have different colorings. Let's see if anyone has some other questions. A bunch of people are asking, why do the chicks look so cute? And I have no idea. I think it's just because they're so fuzzy and adorable. So again, that is their downy feathers. So because they're still growing in their real feathers. So they will still keep their downy feathers as they become adults. This will be close to their body to help keep them warm. And then they'll constantly be growing feathers as they grow up to about 6 months old. So they will actually be losing these tiny little feathers that they've grown and growing bigger ones. So these chicks are putting in a lot of effort into growing more feathers. So let's see. It looks like I may have answered all of the questions that I have gotten today. If I missed your question, feel free to contact me via email if you have a burning question. Otherwise, I will give you guys an update on these chicks next week because they're going to continue to grow. So I'm expecting to see a lot more feathers on them. To grow up to be ready to be in the coop, it's going to take them 6 weeks. So to be ready to live outside, they'll still be a little bit small. So some of them might be the size of a pigeon, not quite the size of a chicken. To be ready to lay eggs, a lot of these chicks will have to be 6 to 9 months old. So that's what we consider to be an adult chicken, is when they are 6 to 9 months old. And we have given these chickens just some arbitrary names. just because we don't know if any of these are boys or girls yet. It's going to become a lot more obvious at 6 weeks old when they start to grow a comb and their wattles. So the boys will start growing their combs a lot faster. So at 6 weeks, it should be easier to tell the boys from the girls. But at this stage, we actually cannot tell. Some people think you can tell based on their behavior. So sometimes the feistier chicks, the ones that are kind of always roughing up the others, some people think those are going to be boys. But I've found that personality-wise, they're all a little bit different. So it's really hard to tell. Let's see. We've got another question of, do chickens eat chickpeas? And the answer is yes. Chickens will eat just about anything you put into their coop. So chickens will eat a chickpea. I put a banana, a little tiny piece of banana in here the other day, and they pecked at that. The only thing I do not feed to my chickens is I really don't like to feed them citrus. So citrus is not very good for them. So I don't feed them oranges or lemons, or even avocados are in the citrus family. So I don't feed them anything like that, but they definitely could eat a chickpea. And then let's see, do you do anything with the chick down that falls off? So I don't do anything with the chick down that falls off of them. It's so hard to capture because it is just like, it's fluff. So the reason why I'm keeping the chicks in the bathroom and definitely not anywhere else in my house, so not in our living spaces and certainly not in our eating spaces, is because usually after 2 to 3 weeks, there's a fine dust and fuzz coating all over every surface, every little sill, the light fixtures, everything has dust on it because the chicks are constantly digging and shedding this very, very fine fuzz. So it's definitely not something I can collect and make into like a pillow or anything like that. But that would be lovely if I could use some of their fluff. Sometimes you can use their feathers. I've seen people use their feathers in jewelry because they do lose their feathers. So you'll probably want to clean them a little bit before you use them for anything. But I've also used discarded chicken feathers as making like ornaments for Christmas trees and things like that. So you can use their feathers, but not their down. Their down is just too fine at this stage. So you can't use anything that fell off of them. So, oh, and there's one more question is, can you show us some of the other pets you have? So I've showed you so far my chickens and my bees. Next week, and actually this Thursday and next Thursday, I'm going to be doing 2 more bee classes. But after that, I'm hoping to show you guys my sheep. So I have 2 miniature baby doll sheep, Coco and Marshmallow. So one's brown and one's white. They are extremely adorable, and there's definitely a lot of things that I do to take care of them that I would love to show you. So hopefully I will be showing you my sheep in a few weeks. My kitties, I haven't figured out a lesson plan for the cats yet, so they're pretty lazy, but we'll see if we can fit that in there. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in and seeing what our little chicks are up to. I hope you tune in next week and we'll give an update on what the little chicks are up to then. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.